International concerns are rising over the situation in Afghanistan. The UN's envoy to Afghanistan says the country is heading for catastrophe, urging the UN Security Council to issue an ambiguous statement that attacks against the cities must stop. A Chinese envoy to the UN has called on the international community to carry forward the Afghan peace process, saying Beijing will work with relevant parties to support reconciliation efforts. Central Asian leaders, including Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, also sounded alarm at a summit in Turkmenistan on Friday. In a joint declaration, they pledged to provide all possible assistance towards achieving peace in Afghanistan. Now, for more on the worsening situation in Afghanistan, let's cross live to Professor Wang Jing in Xi'an. So, Professor, first of all, how important is the capture of Zaranj for the Taliban's offensive? And in another way, how big is this a blow to the government?
I think Taliban's latest military achievements can suggest two dimensions. On the one hand, it suggests that the Taliban is strengthening its controls of the bordering area, especially the very important channels between Afghanistan and the neighboring countries, Iran, Pakistan, and Central Asian states, to strengthen the Taliban's advantage on the battlefield. On the other hand, it suggests that Taliban is actually making more and more both military and political achievements on the battleground to show that the Taliban has enjoyed the upper hands against the Afghan government forces on the battleground. So actually, it suggests the very recent but very, very fast and the frequent changes of the battleground of Afghanistan, and suggests a very highly necessary of the international society to offer and assist the peace dialogue between Afghan government and Taliban.
Professor, in a parallel development on Friday, besides that capture of Zaranj, the Taliban also shot and killed the government's chief media officer. What's the motive behind this?
I think it's the very strategy of the Afghan Taliban trying to deter and trying to show the outside world and also the Afghan society that it is actually not only have the capability to take over big cities, not just as the countryside areas as before, but also the big cities, but also it has the capability to penetrate it into the very hot areas of the Afghan government controlled, especially even of the Kabul, of the capital of the country. So actually this shows that, as I say, it shows that Taliban actually enjoying the upper hands on the battlefield of the Afghan civil warfares.
So, Professor, are you implying that the capture of Zaranj is just the start of a much bigger offensive from the Taliban and aiming to take more provincial capitals?
I think it is actually not the beginning of the bigger offensive, but actually it is actually amid the big offensive, because if the Taliban forces want to take the provincial capital, it's not only that it has to launch a big offensive, but it also have to cut the connections of the major channels between the provincial capital with the other cities, with the other areas. So actually it is a result of the large offense in such an area, and also it suggests that we will see some of the other provincial capitals are still under the attack and the threat of the Afghan Taliban. So I think in the future maybe Taliban will gain more and more territory inside Afghanistan, and maybe that the conflict between the Afghan government and the Taliban will become more and more serious and more ferocious.
Also, Professor, let me follow up on the international reaction a little bit. The UN's special envoy to Afghanistan has urged the UN Security Council to issue an ambiguous statement that attacks against the cities must stop in Afghanistan. Do you think such a statement will be realized quite soon?
Yes, Pandong. I think it suggests the international society's the response and attitudes that hopes that the crisis and the conflict between Taliban and Afghan government should be suspended and should go back to the ceasefire, on the negotiation table. But actually, if we look at the reality, I think it is very difficult or even impossible to reach, given the very uncertainties, the very complicating situation inside the whole country. So I think it is just to show the attitudes that international society hope to offer help and hope to offer assistance to facilitate the peace talks. But actually, if we look at the situation, the reality inside the country, I don't think it is a very easy task for the international society to realize the goal.
Thank you very much, Professor Wang Jing in Xi'an.